In the world of superheroes, few characters have captured the imagination and the adoration of fans like Batman. From the pages of comic books to the silver screen, The Dark Knight has cemented his status as an iconic figure in popular culture. And when it comes to bringing that complex character to life, one man stands out: Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is an actor whose electrifying performance has left a permanent mark on the landscape of Hollywood. Starting out as a production assistant for shows like Mr. Rogers to having a career now that has lasted several decades, Keaton has captivated audiences with his versatility, charisma, and undeniable screen presence. Keaton's ascent to stardom began in the 1980s when he garnered attention for his comedic prowess in films such as Mr. Mom and Beetlejuice. However, it was his groundbreaking portrayal of the iconic superhero Batman in Tim Burton's 1989 film that catapulted him into a realm of global recognition. Keaton's brooding and mysterious interpretation of The Dark Knight reshaped superhero genre and became a benchmark for future iterations. When asked, many fans point to Keaton's film portrayal as being their favorite iteration of the masked vigilante. In fact, because of his huge fan base, Michael Keaton is set to return as his iconic portrayal of Batman in the new 2023 movie, The Flash. But it wasn't always like this. In fact, at one point, Warner Brothers got over 50,000 letters in protest of Michael Keaton in playing The Dark Knight.
You are?
Yeah. With Keaton's background in comedy films and also being a stand-up comic himself, fans thought this was going to be another campy Batman, much like 1966 Adam West's Batman. But this was the least of the worries, as the Batman film was plagued with development hell, and even in spite of becoming one of the highest-grossing films of all time, it still managed to lose money. So let's find out how Mr. Mom got to play this iconic role and change the future of all superhero films to come. Michael Keaton was born in 1951 in Pennsylvania. He is one of 7 children. Also, Michael Keaton isn't his real name. His birth name is Michael Douglas, but he changed it when he started acting, as there was already a Michael Douglas in movies and a Mike Douglas in broadcasting. The way he chose the last name Keaton was he flipped through a phone book and picked the last name Keaton because he thought it sounded kind of inoffensive. He studied speech for 2 years at Kent State University before dropping out and moving to Pittsburgh to become a stand-up comedian.
My mother was very cool. She'd never have to look up. She'd just be reading a magazine. She'd go,
While pursuing his career as a stand-up comedian, in order to make ends meet, he took up a job as a production assistant at the public broadcast station WQED.
We have so many actors here, and they always talk about their first jobs, and it's usually like a bartender, or they, were working parking cars or something. But you had a even more unique job.
I had a lot of jobs.
You worked for Mr. Rogers?
I did, yeah.
That's amazing.
And I think I started at $2 an hour, and then I was bumped up to $2.25.
Wow.
It was during this time that he realized that he wanted to work in front of the camera. I really wanted to be an actor, but I was so in love with comedy, and I started to write a little bit and started doing stand-up in New York, actually. I didn't do stand-up for that long. And then I went on to acting classes and started getting more roles. But I really only want to be great at something. So I threw the focus kind of into acting as opposed to stand-up. He began auditioning for roles and got his very first role in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in 1975 as one of the Flying Zucchini Brothers. They appeared in 2 episodes, and after that he tried to find little roles wherever he could, even did performances at his local theater in Pittsburgh. He knew if he wanted to make it as an actor, he needed to move to Los Angeles. So in 1976, he moved to LA and started auditioning for TV roles. Very soon after, he landed a role in a single episode of Mary Hartman as the robber in 1977. He then got a role in the show Maude, which led him to a more permanent role in the show called All's Fair, where he appeared in 5 episodes before the show ended. It was around this time, as he was getting more work, that he needed to change his name from Michael Douglas to Michael Keaton. He got his first film role in 1978 in a non-speaking part for Joan Rivers' movie Rabbit Test, a comedy about a man getting pregnant. Keaton continued to appear in more TV sitcoms throughout the late 70s and early 80s, with his last TV concurrent role being in 1982's Report to Murphy. At this point, he stopped doing TV and stand-up comedy and began to focus solely on movies. He appeared as a supporting actor in Ron Howard's comedy Night Shift, which got him the lead for the hit comedy Mr. Mom, which went on to make $64 million at the box office off of a $5 million budget. This sent Michael Keaton to stardom territory. During this period, Keaton found himself typecast as a comedic lead, starring in films such as Johnny Dangerously, Gung Ho, The Squeeze, and The Dream Team. However, as early as 1984, Keaton attempted to transition to more dramatic roles with his portrayal of the hockey player in Touch and Go, although the film was not released until 1986. The following year, Keaton was cast as a lead in Woody Allen's The Purple Rose of Cairo, but Allen ultimately decided to reshoot Keaton's scenes with Jeff Daniels, feeling that Keaton's style was too modern for the film. This setback further delayed Keaton's transition to dramatic roles in the eye of the public. Finally, in 1988, which was a pivotal year for Keaton's career, he got two significant roles that would forever transform his image in the eyes of the audience. First, he portrayed the title character in Tim Burton's horror comedy Beetlejuice, a performance that garnered widespread acclaim and even elevated Keaton to a Hollywood's A-lister. In the same year, he delivered an impressive dramatic performance as a drug-addicted realtor in Glenn Gordon Caron's Clean and Sober, earning critical acclaim once again. These roles marked a turning point in Keaton's career and solidified his versatility as an actor. But it was in 1989 Keaton went from an A-list celebrity to a legend with his portrayal of the Dark Knight in Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film. Even though Michael Keaton was in Tim Burton's Beetlejuice movie, he wasn't the director's first choice. The studio wanted an action star to play Batman. Actors who were considered ranged from Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, Charlie Sheen, Harrison Ford, and even Bill Murray. The first actor actually approached was Pierce Brosnan, but he said he had no interest in playing a comic book character. Well, that was a bad choice. Many rumors spread that William Dafoe tried out for the Joker, but he actually tried out for the role of Batman. Tim Burton really wanted to go with an unknown actor, but the studio wouldn't let him, so producer John Peters suggested Michael Keaton, and they agreed. The selection of Michael Keaton as Batman stirred up significant controversy among comic book enthusiasts, leading to the dispatch of around 50,000 protest letters to Warner Brothers headquarters. These letters expressed discontent with the decision, asserting that Keaton, known primarily as a comedian, was an ill-suited choice to portray the Caped Crusader. Critics pointed out that his previous body of work and physical appearance did not align with the suave, striking handsome features and tall, muscular stature commonly associated with the character in the comic books. Many of the executives tried to stop the casting, but after some convincing, Keaton stuck. Originally, Keaton thought the film would maintain the tone of the goofy 1960s TV series featuring Adam West as Batman. However, his perception shifted when he read Frank Miller's comic book miniseries, The Dark Knight Returns, which embraced a more somber, introspective portrayal of the Caped Crusader. Keaton wholeheartedly grasped the film's intention to explore Batman's darker and more brooding nature, a choice that resonated tremendously with the enthusiastic fans. However, the casting controversy wasn't the only hurdle that this film faced. In fact, the production was on the brink of abandonment, and it took nearly a decade to get made. The road to bringing Batman to the big screen was riddled with challenges and delays. In the late 1970s, Batman's popularity was dwindling, and CBS even entertained the idea of a Batman in outer space film. However, producers Benjamin Melniker and Michael Uslan had a different vision. They acquired the film rights to Batman from DC in 1979, aiming to create a definitive and darker version of the character, reminiscent of his original concept in 1939. Despite their passion, pitching the concept of various movie studios proved fruitless. Most studios wanted a film that resembled the campy 1960s TV series, leading to rejections from Columbia Pictures, United Artists, and others. Disappointed but determined, Uslan penned a script called Return of the Batman to showcase his vision. This script, with its darker tone, predated the influential comic book series The Dark Knight Returns by 6 years. The project gained traction when producer John Peters and Peter Guiber joined in November of 1979. Drawing inspiration from the successful development of the Superman 1978 film, the team approached Universal Pictures, but faced yet another rejection. It wasn't until Warner Brothers, the studio behind the Superman franchise, accepted and agreed to produce Batman that progress was made. Various scripts and filmmakers were involved over the years. Tom Mankiewicz crafted a script called The Batman in 1983, drawing inspiration from the comic book series Batman: Strange Apparitions. This film would focus on the origins of Batman and Dick Grayson. The studio loved it and set it for a 1985 release date with a budget of $20 million. But then the actors they wanted to play Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, William Holden, and David Niven, had died. However, over the time, the project experienced 9 script rewrites and directional changes that included director director Wes Craven. At one point, Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy were attached to play as Batman and Robin, but they both wanted to be Batman and neither wanted to be Robin. I don't want to be the boy wonder to anybody. Maybe much earlier when I was a boy, but it was too late for that by the 80s. Also, I couldn't do the outfit. Eddie looks good in purple, and I look good in purple. In red and green, I look like one of Santa's elves. There was just a lot of vanity involved in the production. It wasn't going to happen. Finally, after the success of Tim Burton's Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 1985, Warner Brothers hired him to direct The Batman. Burton brought his girlfriend at the time, Julia Hickson, to develop a new treatment for the film, emphasizing a departure from the campy tone of the previous scripts. The resurgence of interest in the dark and serious Batman stories such as The Dark Knight Returns and Batman the Killing Joke fueled Warner Brothers' determination. Burton was initially not a comic book fan, but he was impressed by the dark and serious tone found in both The Dark Knight Returns and The Killing Joke. Sam Hamm, a comic book fan, was chosen to write the screenplay. He opted against an origin story and instead incorporated flashbacks to maintain an air of mystery. Hamm also felt there was too many characters, so slowly, one by one, he started cutting out the characters until it was just the Joker as the main villain and Batman with a love interest, Vicky Vale. Despite the enthusiasm for Hamm's scripts, Warner Brothers hesitated to move forward, wary of fans' reservations about Burton and Michael Keaton's involvement. To address concerns, Batman's co-creator Bob Kane was brought on as a creative consultant. Also, to shut the fans and critics up, they decided to release a trailer pretty early on so people could see what Michael Keaton's Batman was going to be like. For the role of the Joker, many renowned actors were considered for the iconic role. Tim Curry, John Lithgow, and many others were all in the running, including David Bowie. During his audition, Lithgow even tried to dissuade Tim Burton from casting him, a decision he later expressed regret for acknowledging, "I didn't realize it was such a big deal." Burton personally loved John Glover, but the studio insisted on casting a recognizable movie star. Robin Williams actively campaigned for the part. However, Jack Nicholson had always been the top choice of the studio since 1980. Peters had initially approached Nicholson during the filming The Witches of Eastwick in 1986. Unlike Keaton, Nicholson was widely favored for the role. Jack Nicholson struck a very advantageous deal for himself. He was able to get a very easy filming schedule, also was able to get time off to attend every home game for his beloved NBA team, the Los Angeles Lakers. While his standard fee for a film was a substantial $10 million at the time, he agreed to take on the role of the Joker for a reduced amount of $6 million. However, Nicholson would also receive a percentage points of the profits, extending beyond the box office to encompass merchandising associated with the character as well. This strategic move of taking points off the profits and the merchandising ultimately led to him making $90 million off the film. Right before filming began, they ran into another huge problem. The love interest Vicky Vale was to be played by Sean Young. She got injured in a horse riding accident and could not play the character. They immediately searched for someone that could jump into the role instantly, and they wound up finding Kim Basinger. The costume designer tasked with coming up with the Batsuit studied over 200 comic book issues for inspiration. 28 sculpted latex designs were created, 25 different cape looks, and 6 different heads were made, accumulating a total of $250,000. The budget for the film was originally planned to be $30 million, but quickly ballooned up to $48 million. But in the end, the film broke many records and made $400 million at the box office. But despite its huge box office, it still managed to lose money due to Hollywood accounting, which is a term often used to describe the industry's practice of manipulating financial records and contracts to create the appearance that the film or project is less profitable than it actually is. This allows studios and production companies to avoid paying profits to actors, directors, writers, and other profit-sharing partners their fair share of the revenues generated by the movie. With the success of 1989's Batman film, they quickly started on working on the sequel. Michael Keaton appeared in 2 more movies in between the next Batman movie. Batman Returns was a huge success, although not as big as the first movie. Keaton actually didn't want to do the Batman sequel and really only took the role because he needed money for a real estate deal. In fact, he said he's never even watched a completed version of Batman Returns. Keaton was initially on board to portray Batman for a 3rd film, even attending costume fittings. However, when director Tim Burton was replaced, Keaton also departed from the franchise. He said that he was unhappy with the screenplay approved by the new director Joel Schumacher. Despite Warner Brothers even offering him $15 million, Keaton declined and was replaced by Val Kilmer in Batman Forever in 1995. Throughout much of the later 90s and early 2000s, Keaton remained very active, but he could never reach the heights of when he played Batman. He acted in a wide range of movies, from family-friendly movies like Jack Frost, which was a massive bomb, to a supernatural thriller like White Noise, which was a box office success but panned by critics. It was around this time in 2004 that he started to make his way back into TV by signing to play on the character Jack Shephard in the show Lost. But originally the role was supposed to be a very small one, but as pre-production began, the role got bigger and bigger, so Keaton backed out and the role eventually went to Matthew Fox. He also voiced Ken, the Barbie doll, in Toy Story 3 and even appeared in the RoboCop remake. His career was slowly petering out. In 2014, he got a resurgence with going back to what he does best, superheroes. He was the main character in the film Birdman, a story about a fading actor who's best known for playing a superhero named Birdman. Not only was this film a box office success, but it also got Keaton's first Academy Award nomination, and he won his first Golden Globe. Right after that, he followed up with an Academy Award-winning movie, Spotlight, then played Ray Kroc in the biopic The Founder, the story about McDonald's, where he won even more awards. In 2017, he came back to comic books once again, but this time as the villain, the Vulture, in Spider-Man Homecoming. He later reprised his Vulture role in 2022's Morbius. Also during 2022, he won many awards for his miniseries called Dopesick. In June of 2020, Keaton entered in talks to reprise his role as Batman Bruce Wayne in the upcoming Flash film. He denied those claims in the beginning, but later in April of 2021, he officially confirmed them. He even reprised his role as Batman in the Batgirl movie that was set to be released on HBO Max, taking inspiration from the animated series Batman Beyond, with Keaton playing the elder Bruce Wayne as the title character's mentor. The Batgirl film was famously canceled after the entire filming had already been completed, which also saw Brendan Fraser as the lead villain Firefly. Along with the Flash movie, he also has a cameo as Batman in the upcoming Aquaman 2 film. From his early days as a stand-up comedian to his breakout roles in comedies like Mr. Mom and Beetlejuice that showcase his versatility and his comedic talent. However, it was his transformation into The Dark Knight that solidified his status as a Hollywood legend. It marked a turning point in Keaton's career, propelling him to an A-list status and establishing him as a formidable actor beyond the realm of comedy. His journey to becoming the Caped Crusader might have been filled with controversy, skepticism, and numerous challenges, but despite initial protests and doubts from fans, Keaton's unique interpretation of the Batman in Tim Burton's 1989 film shattered expectations and redefined the superhero genre. Although Keaton departed from the Batman franchise after the second film, his impact on the character in the superhero movies as a whole cannot be overstated. His contribution paved the way for the future iterations of Batman and set the standard for dark, introspective portrayals of the beloved character. In recent years, Keaton's return as Batman in the upcoming 2023 film The Flash has generated excitement and anticipation among fans. It serves as a testament to the lasting legacy of his original portrayal and solidifying his place as one of the most iconic actors to don the cape and cowl of The Dark Knight.
Who are you? I'm Batman.